Hello everyone, good morning. I am Praveen Prashant of CSC Regular, studying BTech in Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, and my professor of subject Basic Electrical and Engineering is G. Raju sir. Today I am here to present about the sources in DC circuits, energy sources. Now let us see about that. Sources. Active elements are also called as sources. Mainly, there are two types of sources, independent sources and dependent sources. Let us discuss briefly about those. First, independent sources. Let us see about independent sources now. Independent sources. The independent source does not depend on the other voltage or current present in the circuits. There are four types mainly. Those are ideal voltage source, practical voltage source, ideal current source, and practical current sources. Let us discuss each of these briefly. First one, ideal voltage source. Let us see ideal voltage source. In ideal voltage source, as you know, voltage remains constant. It does not depend on the current through the source in the circuit. Mainly, the important one is it have the internal resistance zero. As we observe in the graph, V load remains constant even though the current in the circuit is varying. So it is a straight line. Internal resistance in this is zero. Practical voltage source. Practical voltage source. In the practical voltage source, the internal resistance is connected with parallel to the ideal voltage source. It is connected parallel to the ideal voltage source. Here, the internal resistance is not equal to zero. If internal resistance is zero, we will get ideal voltage source. By applying KVL, we in the circuit we get V load equal to ES minus IL into R. Here, let us observe the graph. The graph is decreasing. The drop in the graph is considered as IL into R. Here, if we see, if we put internal resistance R equal to 0, VL equal to Vs, which is nothing but constant. It is known as ideal voltage source. These are ideal voltage sources and practical voltage sources. Now let us see ideal current source. Ideal current source. It gives constant current in the circuit even if the voltage is changed or load is changed. It does not depend on the voltage. Here the internal resistance is given as infinity. It delivers the same current throughout the circuit. Next, practical current source. Practical current source. Here, the internal resistance is not infinity. Here, the internal resistance is connected with parallel to the ideal current source. In ideal voltage source and practical voltage source, in practical voltage source, if we see it is connected uh, series with the ideal voltage source. Here it is connected parallel to the ideal current source. If we see the graph is decreasing and the graph de- decrease is now considered by VL by R. R is nothing but internal resistance. If we put internal resistance as infinity, IL equal to IS, which is nothing but ideal current source. By applying KCL, the sum of the currents in the junction is zero. If we apply and solve the equation, we get this equation. Here, if we observe when R is infinite, Is equal to IL, that which is nothing but ideal current source. So these are the mainly four types of independent sources. Next, we will discuss about the dependent sources. Let us see dependent sources. Dependent sources. Those depend on the other voltage or currents present in the circuit. Those vary with these dependent sources vary with the other voltage present in the circuits. Mainly, as we see, there are four types of dependent sources: voltage dependent voltage sources, voltage dependent current sources, current dependent voltage source, current dependent current source. These are the mainly four types. Let us discuss briefly about those each. Voltage dependent voltage source. It produces voltage as function of voltage elsewhere in the given circuit. If another voltage is present in the voltage, then the first voltage depend on the another voltage which is present in the circuit. V is the uh, dependent circuit and V1 is the another voltage. V is the dependent voltage. If we see V equal to K into V1, voltage dependent current source. It produces current as function of voltage in the circuit. If we another voltage is present in the circuit, the current which it produces is depend on that voltage present in the in the circuit. I equal to K into V1. V1 is the another voltage and current dependent voltage source. It is also same. It produces voltage as function of current. As how the current functions, it produces voltage as that. Next, current dependent current source. It produces current as function of current in the circuit. How the function of current, another current behaves, it depends on that current. I equal to K into I1. These are the mainly dependent sources, four types of dependent sources. In ideal voltage source, in independent source, the internal resistance is zero. In ideal current source, in independent source, the ideal resistance is infinity, as we saw there. Here, if we keep R equal to zero, it is ideal voltage source. So ideal voltage source have zero internal resistance. And if we keep here R equals to infinity, you will get ideal current source. So in ideal current source, the R is infinity. The resistance is given as infinity. So majorly these are the parts of the sources. So thank you. Thank you.